Hello, 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 and welcome to Entitled, where we talk to the entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and top practitioners in the real estate industry. I'm Bernie Espinosa, along with my co-host.
David Bellinger, and that's why you do the intros, because I would butcher that every time. So
I messed up this morning.
That's all right.
This afternoon.
We roll with it.
Yeah, we roll with it. We roll with it. So thank you and welcome. David and I both work in the title industry for Lawyers Title and Grand Canyon Title. Yep. Therein lies the fun name of our podcast, Entitled, wink, wink. And we like to bring on some really cool guests to talk about what's happening in our market and actually even bigger picture. Today we have an amazing guest, Aaron Lacey, who is the growth architect for Fidelity National Financial, and super excited to dig in because you're an awesome get of late, even though our shows should be more evergreen, but we're so glad we got you.
I like to be a get.
Yes, you're a great get. About that. Yeah,
brag about
I'm excited to be here.
I hope to be described that way someday. So
brag about it. Man, I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah, welcome, Aaron. It's so.
Thank you.
Actually, I really wish the background song right now was a little Peaches and Herb, a little Reunited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it does feel so good.
Wow.
Reunited.
We're gonna start hitting into
it's
songs
so
here.
good to see you.
Yeah.
Thanks
Likewise.
for coming onto the show. So many different roads to go down, but I think let's talk about who you are, your influence in the real estate space, and kind of a little, the short version of the history and just how many agents that you've, from origin to like today, how many agents you've been impacting and how you've really been an impact in the title industry, affecting realtors and practitioners.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's been an exciting 25 years.
Yeah,
which is it's crazy to say that.
Yeah,
but really it's I've dedicated most of my life to the industry, and it just is such a rewarding opportunity to work with people that this is their livelihood. They need help, they need assistance, they need direction, they need ideas. And, for me to be able to just drop something, in their lap that can make a big difference, it feels darn good when they take that and they run with it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the most rewarding things I can do is see somebody leverage something I share to really make a material difference in their business. Because, when it comes to real estate agents' businesses, that's their livelihood.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, they're working 60, 70 hours a week to pay for, this lifestyle to really, there's a lot of single parents in the industry, and they're, and so they're funding, they're, raising children and sending them to school. And so to allow them to just, again, accomplish one more thing is a lot of fun. It's been quite the journey to get to this point, and I think we're still just getting started.
Yeah.
This industry is constantly evolving, changing, so just keeping up to speed with what's happening is a full-time job in and of itself.
Well, and that leads into, your reputation precedes you. A lot of people know who you are here in Arizona, let alone other states. Mm-hmm. But what the heck's a growth architect?
Okay, so that's a great question.
Yes.
So a growth architect, it really is somebody that connects with a real estate agent. So and identifies opportunities for growth. That's really what it is, right? Whether that agent is trying to free up more time, whether they're trying to create more differentiation in their business, or they're trying to systematize. Maybe they want to take a back seat. Maybe they want to, work on their business instead of constantly in it. And maybe they want to modernize or innovate. And that's where I come in as a consultant, somebody with ideas, somebody with strategy. I help them architect a plan that gets them from wherever they're at to kind of that next level that they see, that they let me know, hey, Aaron, here's where I want to go. I'm not entirely sure how to get there. I feel like I kind of know how to get there, but do you have any advice, ideas? Having seen under the hood of over 10,000 agents' businesses over the last, 15, 16 years.
Can you repeat that?
I've got a lot of insight. Yeah, I've got a lot of insight.
You've seen a lot.
I've seen a lot. I've heard a lot. I've got a lot of insight into what works and what doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't want to sell it short. It's the realtor community, everybody in that space, including us. So it's also ideas and growth for us internally as we're, partnering with you,
tools.
with our clients and prospects and things like that. We're learning at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the special skills that you bring that's unique to you is not only are you the practical and tactical, like you just talked about, really meeting people, understanding where they're at in their business, and then identifying which path they want to go down. And you've seen it all. I mean, 10,000, over 10,000 agent entities, right? But then your ability to kind of know that person, like know who you are, know who you're not, and help them really. That's why I really like the term architect, because architecture involves more things than just structure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's what's the style? What is the budget? What is,
Yes.
what colors do you like? Or do you like desert motif? Are you more skyscrapers and, things like that? So I love this terminology, and I think it's very forward and modern. Everybody uses the word modern now, but I think it's very forward thinking in terms of creating a conversation about what you can do for them in their business that actually the explanation of the title in and of itself makes a person think, oh, cool. So you can almost immediately kind of start to dig into how you can affect their business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think every agent operates a little bit differently, and some entirely differently.
Yep.
And, to use a one-size-fits-all approach just doesn't make sense for 99% of agents. And I think that personalized approach, understanding what they truly need from a consultative standpoint, really asking the right questions too to uncover those needs. Because oftentimes, we're operating in our businesses so much that we rarely just stop and think about, am I doing the right things? Is what I did yesterday still the right thing today? And am I gaining market share? Am I losing market share? What is my average price point on my listings, right? Is that increasing, decreasing, right? How effective am I at converting buyer leads into buyers and writing offers? At what frequency? How frequently do my listing presentations turn into listings that actually sell? What's my average list to sale price ratio? What's my average day on market? I like to look at all those numbers so that we have these measurable metrics that allow us to figure out, hey, can we improve? Can we increase here? Are we doing great here? Maybe we don't need to improve here. Maybe we can focus somewhere else, right? Maybe I can take some things off of your plate versus put things on.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's so important to kind of know where you're at. Like, it's oftentimes, I think, the most popular thing we hear when we're in the field is somebody wants to do more business. But so then we're like, well, where are you at right now? And so often not knowing what those metrics are, those performance standards, how do you know where to go if you don't know where you're at right now? And so identify, like you said, I love that, the thought of like, let's identify the areas that, well, you're asking for help on this, but based on what I'm looking at right here, this isn't, you're doing good here. We probably should focus over here.
Yeah, was it Peter Drucker that said, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it? I see there's really two types of agents out there. There's agents that, most agents want to grow their business, but there's two agents out there. There's agents that are inconsistent, and they just need to become more consistent. And through consistency is going to come growth, right? It's going to lead down a pathway of growth. The other agent is consistent. They've just hit a roadblock. They've hit a ceiling, right? They now need to tap into leverage, right? So what does leverage look like for agents, right? Leverage might be finally stepping out of that I want to control everything zone and say, hey, I'm going to bring somebody on board just to assist me with maybe my transaction. So it could be a transaction, somebody that helps with transactions or operations, or an assistant. That's really my recommendation, is bring on an assistant. Bring on somebody that handles things that aren't worth your time and effort. If you were to say that you're a $200 an hour agent, right? We were to back into what we might be paid hourly to do what we do based on how much we make annually. Would I pay myself $200 an hour to go and perform data entry into my CRM, or to look at my social media analytics, or to go and check in on a house absent the client. Like, no, I think I can pay somebody 10, 15, 20, $25 an hour to do that. So I think leveraging a body, leveraging a VA, leveraging the right systems and technology, right? We've got AI out there where you and I just had a conversation about a new AI tool that utilizes agentic AI, right? The capacity for AI to actually perform actions on your behalf, right? So there's ways to leverage a lot of things out there. And I think for agents that, again, are consistent, have hit a ceiling, they're looking for ideas, a plan that can be easily executed. And that's where I can come in.
I love that.
I think the biggest thing that I see out there is also the fear of change, right? So you get to the point where you know what you know, you do what you do. And then when you start hearing about options, sometimes you go right to, look at all the change that's involved. Do I want to go through that? But if we can provide on our end, but look at the results that will come from this. You know what I mean? So yes, there is going to be some change involved, and we'll have to change that process or incorporate this system or whatever. But look at the results, what you just said, the time savings, and how much more productive everybody on the team, you, assistants, everybody would be by this minimal change.
I mean, and change requires commitment, right?
Yes.
I mean, whether it's imparted on you or if you're a victim of it. And I don't even like the word victim, but if you're just, you're in that whirlwind of change. And I think that reality is every single day is like massive change,
Well, and it's like what you said, everything's changing so fast. It's hard to keep up, right? I mean, how do you keep up on everything? I mean, this is what you do every day, is to make sure and keep everything top of mind to all of these different clients and touch points. How do you stay on top of everything?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's a challenge. And, to go back to your initial point of change, right? Change is difficult. I think for everybody, for me. The reason being is, at our core, human beings are very adverse to change because we're simply just searching for stability. We're trying to make sense of all of these all of this stimuli that's coming into our senses every moment, right? And so we're these pattern recognition engines trying to make sense of everything around us, just seeking areas of comfort, stability, things that just we can recognize. And I think, to just understand that change is difficult and give ourselves the grace to know that, hey, change is difficult and I know that this isn't going to be easy. But how, what am I working towards?
Right.
You know what I mean? Where am I, ultimately, who do I want to become or what do I want to accomplish?
What's your end game?
Exactly.
What am I committed to?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's I think it's a great quote that says that commitment is doing what you said you were going to do long after the mood you set it in has left you.
Absolutely.
Which is, it's so magical because it's so true. Because at the end of the day, we all see something on the board or in our vision about what we want to accomplish. But how committed are we to that? Because there's no growth without friction. And, what is friction? Discomfort, it doesn't feel good sometimes. But, you got to keep your eye as to, or ask yourself if what you said was important to you is still important to you, right? Because that's how you pivot and make adjustments. I think that's the other thing too, is goals have flex. Goals aren't designed to be tossed or trashed unless you really were okay, I'm going to toss or trash because it just doesn't fit into my picture anymore. But at the end of the day, a goal should have flex, because if you reach your goals 100% of the time, it probably wasn't an assertive enough goal. But if we get pretty far along the way, 80%, 90%, whatever that looks like, and I'm speaking numerically because it's not necessarily always about the number, but about, hey, I wanted to just talked to somebody this week. It's I need to close 22 transactions by June. I'm actualizing that and making it a goal. There's going to be some flex there. Maybe you get to 18, but that's still freaking amazing. Right?
Or if you get 22 before then, now what's your new goal?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we get that
So
from
the goals have
our
flex.
bosses all the time, right?
I know, right? There's no pat on the back for great job. It's okay, what number's next?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think inconsistency is more difficult than consistency at the end of the day. Think about, waking up every morning not knowing what am I going to do this morning? Am I going to work out? Am I going to just stay in bed?
Yeah.
Am I going to brush my teeth? Am I going to just throw some mouthwash in? What am I going to wear? What am I going to eat? What am I going to do this morning? That's nerve-wracking. That's absolutely nerve-wracking. So the consistency of having a schedule, creating routines, creating habits for yourself, and evaluating those habits too, because we all can get into interesting places, but I would say that may not be serving us well. But, I think when I look and think about some of the top producing agents I've worked with, they're the ones that have these routines, these habits, and they just perform them like clockwork, almost robotic.
They're not emotional about it. They're just
completely unemotional.
task-driven.
Are they going to the gym today? It's like without question.
Yeah.
They're going to go at a specific time every single day or 5 days a week or whatever they've committed to. You know what I mean? Oftentimes they might eat the exact same thing for breakfast. They might have the exact same morning routine. So now they're able to just move through the day and not have to utilize that emotional and mental bandwidth on things that don't matter.
Of what's
Yeah.
next. Right?
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
and the inconsistency piece you talk about, the problem is they don't see it as, how many people don't know they're inconsistent or that it is nerve-wracking because they don't know the world of,
Their chaos.
holy crap, look how good it could have been if I was
Yeah.
set up and had that
And
consistency.
there can be comfort in chaos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There can be
There-
excitement and chaos.
Yeah.
You go, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen today. That's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, it depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But I would say this, there's a word that entered my vocabulary last year, and it's called capacity. And I'm obsessed with capacity. And I think capacity is our ability to deal with adversity, but continue to move forward. And some people might call it resilience. But capacity is also ability to deal with all this stimuli, but not become overwhelmed by it.
Right.
And continue to, but also I don't have to absorb everything that's happening to me and happening around me.
I think that's really, I just literally had an image of the scales because that capacity piece, it doesn't mean become numb,
Yeah.
but it also means like, does the emotional element take you out of whack, right? Like finding that balance of the ability to kind of manage that, right?
100%. Like,
Yeah.
I'll lead in AI. I get into a lot of different areas, right? I'll get into, I've been obsessed with mindset. I know you're focused on mindset. David, you love mindset as well. Growth versus fixed mindset. I always share the story of, my son who's now 9, but, when he was 5, he came home from kindergarten, got off the bus and walked up to my front door, and I greeted him right at the door, and because my wife had actually got them from the bus stop, and I opened the door. I said, "Hey, buddy, how was your day?" And I said something else to him, and he looks at me and he says, "Daddy, you have a fixed mindset." And I was like,
That's awesome.
"That's the
Go,
worst
Luke.
F
Go, Luke.
word you
Yeah,
could say to
right,
me.
right.
A fixed mindset." I'm like, "How dare you? I've got a growth mindset." I say, "Buddy, like, where did that come from? Like, did you learn that at school? This is unbelievable." So, side note, I've got a lot of faith in the next generation, especially if they're learning about mindset at
Mindset
school.
now, yeah.
But so getting into mindset, I think everything really starts with mindset, right? We can control two things: our mindset, right, where we're focused, what we're thinking, right? Are we in a place of gratitude, abundance? Or are we, are we in a scarcity, place, which really built on anxiety, and that really leads to kind of negative outcomes for us. So I think mindset, and then our activities. We can control what we do. We can control how we think and what we do. And so getting into those places with agents, just causing them to just stop for a moment and check in, that can be really revealing. But as I kind of progress through, I love getting into, hey, like, who are you? What's your unique differentiator? What niche do you really like working with? What type of a buyer, seller, area, price point? Whether it's geographic, demographic, psychographic? Is it how people act? I was recently at a conference, and there were escalators everywhere, and the way I describe psychographic to people, they go, "Well, what is that? You can psychographically target people." I said, "Absolutely. It's the difference between somebody getting on an escalator and somebody walking up the steps to go up to the next level, right? They're choosing a different path because that's just who they identify as, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to take a maybe a more, physical approach or a healthier approach. But we can weave that into our marketing, our storytelling to attract people that would take stairs instead of an escalator.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it really appeals to people at even a deeper level than where they're at, what their age is, where they live. So helping agents understand who they really want to work with, who they are, and then what are the best systems and tools, and what's the best plan for attack?
Yeah.
Right? How we can get in front of those people in a meaningful way, consistently, and continue to just build our brand, elevate ourselves to where those people seek us out.
I love that. And also, your experience covers a lot of territory. I mean, you've coached agents not just in Arizona, but California, Nevada. Like, give us a breakdown of what that looks like, and maybe competitively speaking, like, do you find that some areas it's a different level of competition, a different level of need? Is Arizona unique, and what are our differentiators? Like, what do you kind of see as a big landscape? Why are you laughing at me?
Just because we know what he's going to say about Arizona, right?
Well, yeah, we were
Dave,
there.
what do you think I'm going to say about Arizona? What?
It just Wild West, right?
Well,
there's so many different things going on.
It's hyper competitive. I mean, real estate has become so competitive in the last, I would say, 10, 15 years.
Yeah, agree.
Especially with the adoption of technology, right? Real estate agents were fairly adverse to technology.
And access by consumers just as much as the realtors.
I think, great point. So now, the folks we're working with, they're almost as informed as we are on, what's happening in the market. Arizona, compared to other markets, is I would say even more competitive. Specifically, Maricopa County, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, Arcadia, North Scottsdale, hyper competitive. I think you've got real estate agents in those markets innovating at a faster level because of that hyper competitive environment. They're having to really market outside of the box. They're looking at technology and adopting and implementing faster than I'm seeing other markets do that. And I've worked in Orange County, hyper luxury Orange County, Silicon Valley, like some of these what you would think would be very forward thinking markets, and they are, but nothing as hyper competitive as Phoenix, Scottsdale.
Do you think that is the concentration of the number of agents in a smaller area, or is it that, my perception, because I'm originally from California, the San Francisco Bay Area, is the barrier to entry is low, but the cost of entry is high, right? In some of these other markets, because home prices have been a lot more expensive. And I feel like in Arizona, I don't know what it is. It just seems like such a more open, landscape for people to get into real estate. And maybe that's just because I work in it now, and so I see that here in Arizona. But what do you think that attributes that hyper competitive? Is it the concentration of the number of licensees within those areas, or?
Yeah, I think a combination. I think, this is obviously a growth state.
Yep.
Right? Real estate's a massive industry in Arizona. And so, plus you've got a concentration of people that that are not from here, that are bringing a lot of great insight and perspective and ideas into this market as well. And so, because there are, 8, 10, 12,000 homes that sell monthly here, there's just so much opportunity that exists. And you've got almost 60,000 agents in the Maricopa County area competing for those 10,000 sales. And, I think that really creates that or lends to that hyper competitive environment. So
what do you see in our market in terms of maybe some upcoming or fast developing or, geographic areas and or, brands? Like, what are some of the differentiators that you're seeing or different things that are popping up?
Well, I mean, I think what's been really on the forefront of a lot of our news feeds right now is, what Compass has been doing as a brokerage. And I can tell you, I'm not surprised, right? I'm not surprised. I mean, they've got incredible leadership, at the top, incredible backing. They went all in on technology right out of the gate. And frankly, I think, I think NAR, I think maybe they haven't represented us as well as they could have. I think the MLS is a little antiquated, possibly. If you look at the technology that's powering that powers the MLS, and it varies, right? It varies depending on area, and
Right.
but really, it's this industry has been slow to innovate. And I think there are companies, there are entities that are forcing that innovation, and I think Compass is one of them.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna, within the next couple of years, we're gonna see some other really big things come out of that organization. But I'm seeing a lot of other brokerages. I'm seeing boutique brokerages. I'm seeing some other brands out there that are really innovating, doing some really neat things as well. They're empowering their agents in a different way than ever before. They're moving out of the way, letting their agents kind of lead and do their thing, and I think that's causing them to grow faster than ever before and innovate. And so it's been pretty exciting. I mean, I think outside of the brokerage level, I think the adoption of technology by agents is really just fast tracking what they're able to accomplish. I think there's no more easy mode. There's no more, hey, I showed up, I'm going to win the business. We have to show up. We have to have a plan, and we have to be able to execute that plan. And we also have to provide a unique experience, right? We got to have the warm chocolate chip cookie in the lobby at the same time. That's the icing on the cake, right? Like it's, again, very, very challenging industry to accomplish all those things and be above average at all those different facets of the business is incredibly challenging. And that's why there's the opportunity for me to do what I do.
Yeah.
And you too as well.
Yeah.
Well, and there's so many different things being thrown, right?
Yeah.
I mean, from when I started years ago, and Bernie, you the same, Aaron, all of us, right? There was a lot more thought process on some of those changes.
Yeah.
There is so much more shoot, name later now in the decision process because the fear of the commitment, I'm sure, let's try it. And then if it doesn't work in 2 months, I'm going to move on from something different. But then that also creates the chaotic scenarios, right? And then the anxiety because, well, what am I going to do next month? What's that system going to be? And like you said, it's just coming out at just such a fierce rate, all the different options. So that's why I'm excited to have you working with us so we can try and narrow that down, right? Let's bring it into a focused field of what's going to be particular to you instead of just looking at everything and like, oh my God, what, throw a dart. Which one do I want to try this month? Sure.
Well, it's so funny that you bring up what you're saying because as you're sharing, I'm sitting here going, this is the importance of the goal piece. This is the importance of sitting down with somebody and kind of going, what's important to you? What is your life look like in terms of, like you said earlier, there's some people, this is their sole income, they're a single parent. They've also done this because it affords them the freedom of designing their schedule, right? Not having to report into something. But all of this leads back to what are the goals and what is important to you? Because if there's 5,000 houses that trade every month or 20,000 houses that trade every month, how many of those do you need to achieve the things that you want? And so then instead of getting distracted or chaotic or stressed or anxiety ridden because of the stuff, now you just get to stay in your lane with what you said you're purposeful about and intentional about what you wanted to accomplish. And then modify and pivot as needed, necessary, or wanted, right? And it sounds so super simple. It's just not easy.
We're so distracted, you guys, and I think that's where there's a lot of challenges really just in focus. And the fact that we've got this device in our pocket it's fighting, clawing, scratching for our attention constantly, and it's very good at absorbing not just our attention, our focus, but really our mental acuity and energy. And next thing we know, we're absolutely drained at the end of the day, and we go, man, what did I do today? What did I accomplish today? Well, I spent an hour, 2 hours. The average American adult's 2.5 hours scrolling through news feeds every day.
It's funny when I think about the BlackBerry days. Because that for me was the first iteration of this attachment, this companion.
I missed that. It was harder then.
It was
Well,
better.
harder to
It
go
was
to
kind
the-
of it was kind of better then because it was really just for emailing. I mean, and then when they
Yeah.
added a camera, you're like, oh my gosh, there's a camera. But this has really just become full force noise, right? And necessary. It encompasses all these
Yeah.
things. And it's interesting because I always think about Steve Jobs creating a resource called an I something when he didn't have relationships or was really bad at them. So he just wanted to have a relationship with technology. So he named all his things start with an I. Just me and my iPhone.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with like there's so much more on us now that's competing for our attention. And
Sure.
it's so funny you bring this up because I feel like just yesterday, which we had a holiday and I was just like yesterday I felt like one of those days where I know it's just nonstop all day long, but my biggest stressor yesterday was my phone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my biggest escape was when I actually got to be face to face with people. Right? And that's also
Yeah.
the most productive time.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? Back to the point of capacity, in order to protect your capacity so that you can operate at a high level when it really matters, you have to protect your emotional energy.
Yeah.
And the phone drains emotional energy because humans are empathetic.
Yes.
And when we're scrolling through the news feed and we see things that are unpleasant, unkind, or the opposite, or we get these dopamine rushes from things that are incredible, but it's taking our emotional bandwidth
Yeah.
away from us.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's really a limited resource.
And
right?
designed to do so. I mean,
Absolutely.
everybody that creates content is
Yeah.
trying to,
Yeah.
Well, it's no different than
get one of those emotions going. I mean, at a high level.
it's
they're
no
trying to do
different
that.
than driving for 8 hours. You're
Yeah.
on a road trip,
Sure.
and
Sure.
my wife, my kid, why are you so tired?
Yeah.
You've just been sitting there. I'm like, you're
Yeah, so true.
Everything's going on. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Everything in your head is preparing or for a safe travel. It exerts a lot of energy.
It's tough. And David, you'd asked me, how do I stay up to date with what's happening? You guys, I can scroll through my news feed and I can get educated and become aware and just absorb information from some of the smartest minds in the world, right? But the thing is, it's now, one of the most valuable things we have now is our ability to retain that information and put it into practice. And so for me, not only am I, following specific people intentionally, right? Yeah, do I doom scroll sometimes? Sure. I mean, it's hard not to. But intentionally following specific people that are putting out what I think are thought leader type content.
Alignment. With that.
Exactly. And then I would say too, I'm going to absorb that. I'm going to read. There's some publications online I like to go to absorb some of that information. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of us know what to do, what we should be doing to be successful, right? Yeah. So we don't need more information. We don't necessarily need more strategy. We really just need a plan.
Right.
You know what I mean? We need a plan. We need a plan. And the best way to devise a plan, I think, is to figure out 1 year from now, let's just go a year from now, just keep it really simple. Either what do I want to have or who do I want to be? One of the two. Do I want to be somebody, right? Who do I need to become a year from now? Or what do I need to accomplish a year from now? And then I'm just going to back into that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to back into that quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, hourly, so that I don't have to think I can operate by just looking at my schedule, looking at my calendar, looking at my list and go, this is what I need to accomplish to become that person a year from now that is doing whatever I'm setting out to want to do, or make however much money I want to make, or whatever your goal is.
Yeah.
So I would say set that goal. We've been talking about goals.
Yeah.
Set that goal. Set that goal, back into it, make it so darn easy that anybody can do it. And you just need to show up, and you need to make 3 calls a day.
Yeah, you got to do the work.
You just need to, and that's your goal that day is, I need to make 3 calls. In order for me to hit 500,000 in GCI, I need to have 3 meaningful conversations with homeowners today. Can you do that? No. And then I'm going to say, okay, so to get those 3 meaningful conversations,
How many dials is that?
How many dials? What's a meaningful conversation? Maybe it's in person.
Yeah,
Maybe it's over
text,
this.
yeah.
Do we have people? Do we need new people? Can I tee up? Can we get access to, I know you've got, great access to data for these agents. We can get, oftentimes, contact information. We can, so there's a lot of different ways to get you what you need. Now it's just, you're going to have to ultimately do the work.
Execute.
Yeah.
It's absolutely no different than the message we give to our sales team
Yeah.
Yeah.
in our sales meetings.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
The good news is it's an easy way to figure out how to get to your number.
Yeah.
The not so easy part is here's what you have to do to get to
super simple. It's just not easy,
Yeah.
right? You have to want to do it.
Yeah.
What I think is important about your role is the perception of you or anybody in your capacity as being the social media person or help me with Instagram. Why do you always laugh at when I say stuff?
Because it's so true. I agree.
Right? But for you to for your role and for roles like yourselves to have that differentiator that's more holistic about who are you, what do you want to accomplish in your business? Have you found that in the course of your career that some people maybe have short-sighted the the power or the knowledge that you can have to help them in their business, where they try to be like, oh yeah, I can't wait to meet your marketing technology person because I really need some help with Instagram. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I welcome those conversations. You could call me a social media guy. You could call me a marketing guy. You could call me, it doesn't matter as long as you call me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I think after that conversation, you're going to see that there's more substance there for sure. But, if that's the hook to get us together into a conversation where I can bring you some value, do it, whatever you want to call me. It doesn't even matter.
What is that day to day look like for you? What's the practical and tactical? How do you operate in the field? I know, but we know, but we want to share that with our agent community in terms of how we're really bringing high level value, high consultative value. I mean, if you were running your own firm and we were bringing you in alongside to meet with one of our top clients or a top prospect, that'd be thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to have that level of business intelligence. So kind of share a little bit about what that looks like for you out in the field with us.
Yeah. I mean, last year I was meeting with, I at one point I just audited my schedule, my calendar, and I saw that I was meeting with 73 agents throughout the course of the year that were generating at least $50 million in yearly sales volume, and I was meeting with some of them, it was really 30 minutes to an hour, usually monthly or quarterly, but throughout the day it's these consultative sessions where I'm doing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7, 8 a day, and we're getting right into business. We're talking about what are their challenges, what are they currently working on, what are they seeing, and we're ensuring that they're just really continuing to operate at that high level, and there's no blind spots for them. And whether it's in their marketing, I can let me just, case in point, a top 25 nationally ranked agent, he was really looking to, get out from behind the business and get in front of the business. And we talked about how he should do that in a way that really would be valuable and meaningful to his audience. High net worth, luxury audience. They really value exclusivity, privacy in the way that he deals with them, but he can't be private in his approach, right? He needs to share with them how he operates. And so, but it's not ego driven. It's not, hey, look at me, how great I am. It's, hey, you know what? I've built this system, right, that is providing a high level of value to this group of people and understands their needs at a really deep level, but I need to put that out publicly.
Right. How
do I do that? Do I get into Instagram? Do I get onto YouTube? Do I update my website? Oh. What type of content do I create? What type of insight and transparency into my process, my systems that I'm providing these folks am I going to share publicly? Because I know my competition's going to get access to it.
Right.
But the thing is, he's operating at such a high level and a unique individual level that he's willing to share some of that insight because it's hard to duplicate him, right? And that's at the end of the day, like, somebody can try to copycat, but they're not him.
They're not him.
You know, they're not him. And I'm not you, and you're not me. And so that was his unique differentiator. But helping just guide that process, working with, meeting with videographer, meeting with marketing folks, and making sure that the vision is maintained throughout the course of this deployment of him just really publicizing his offering. That was something that he found very valuable in a service that I provided.
Yeah.
And that went through that, that was about
Multiple
a year-long
iterations.
engagement.
Yeah.
And, ultimately he was able to double the size of his business and his team because of that.
Yeah.
In 1 year, so, and, I love to see those types of results. There's often times where I'll come in and it's just one conversation.
Right.
And then I never get to talk to that agent again. And there's other times where I get to stay engaged, stay connected, and I get to actually kind of see what the results ends up being. And, again, I'm up for either.
Yeah.
I enjoy bringing value to agents. Again, to tell you a little about my origin story, I mean, I was raised by a real estate agent.
Yeah.
My mom was a real estate agent when I grew up. And, from the age of 1 to 10, she was licensed. And she struggled, as a lot of agents do. And unfortunately, she didn't make it in the industry. And, I've really made a commitment. Initially it was, I don't want to see anybody fail out of the business that I'm connected to, right? Now it's, I want to see agents that I'm connected to accomplish what they never thought possible.
Flourish.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's so fun.
Yes.
I mean, just that one story about the one agent, year-long relationship, that track in and of itself is kind of showcases the value of what, quote unquote, your services are in partnership with, well, I shouldn't say in partnership, be part of the company. But for us to have those kinds of investments into resources like you, I think is super exciting. I've always believed in it. And so I'm just, because you do get to work on a different part of the business than the sales executive does, or the escrow officer does, or the realtor, right? And so there's so much opportunity in having this human partner in making, trying to make an impact in other people's businesses. So it's very rewarding for you. I mean, for all of us, right? Like, it's so great.
Well, I'm going to be selfish. I hope it's rewarding for us.
But I mean, it's so rewarding to be able to, when you meet with people and be able to say, I've got an amazing resource, and, no promises, but I'm pretty certain that we can come up with something that you can sink your teeth into that's going to bring you that, like, you can see it in people's faces when you actually, they're like, oh my gosh, you just solved the riddle of the Sphinx for me, because they didn't know where to pivot. They didn't know which way to go. And they've just been, existing, but not really, knowing what they're doing.
Well,
and the simplicity of it, right? Like, I think the other thing too is there's no wrong thing to do. I mean, we get in front of a lot of agents that are like, well, what should I be doing right now? What are other people doing? I'm like, well, why don't we figure out what's best for you? Because there's so many things that people are doing, you could be doing mailers, you could be doing videos, you could start a YouTube channel. It goes back to that commitment piece too. Yeah.
And it's so hyper competitive that, if you look at the 100-meter sprint in the Olympics, the difference between first and last is oftentimes hundredths of a second.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we've got, again, incredible agents that are operating at such a high level, and they're looking for that 100th of a second so that they can go from, fifth to fourth to third to second. And that's where I can come in, is provide that 100th of a second to those high operators. Again, fortunate to be, in an ecosystem that really is allowing my efforts to scale, with this growth architect role, getting to work with the top 10% of the market, agents that are already doing a lot, already accomplished a lot, but just creating a little bit more of an advantage for them when we connect. Like, that's exciting for me. I love to be the differentiator, the advantage, and whether it's, helping them integrate a new tool, a new piece of AI, a new way to look at their marketing or their brands, right? A new a new concept that's going to cause their team to maybe generate more revenue or retain their existing agents and maybe even recruit new ones. Like those are the small differentiators that can make a big difference in these agents' lives.
I love it. Where is Aaron Lacey a year from now? You mentioned earlier talking to an agent. Go, let's just look at 1 year. Let's just look at 1 year. Where do you see a year from now?
Yeah, that's
especially because it's just a new transition, but not a transition, but not necessarily a new. You've done this already, but you just made a transition.
I think me be able to create as much influence, positive influence as I can with the real estate community. I mean, I've got my own metrics for how many agents that generate X amount of yearly volume I want to connect with and partner with and deliver value with. But ultimately at the end of the year, I want to create better systems with my social media content. Like I'm self-admittedly, I haven't done a very good job of really growing my social presence, my YouTube channel. I could do a better job with that. So, I've got a plan in place that I'm executing now to make that happen. And then, really to stay as connected as I can to what's moving the needle for agents. Because again, it's a very fast moving world, especially if you dip your toe into the AI side, right? I'm now seeing AI driven, listing marketing videos that, are built not from video or photos of the actual property. They're full video tours that are just conceptual videos created virtually utilizing AI, and it looks like somebody just walked through a house with a high def camera.
So bananas.
It's absolutely incredible. So I think.
It'll be different in 2 more months.
Yeah, and it's going to totally change.
It's just going to keep getting better.
Yeah.
And so, I think, being able to say, hey, agents, you can focus on some of this stuff, or you know what, I really think that this is now worth your time and attention. And then also being able to say, hey, actually, just ignore that. Ignore this, ignore that. You don't need to do that. You don't need to be posting this frequently. You don't need to do that. Sometimes that just takes a weight off their shoulders.
Totally.
And they go, Aaron, thank you for just giving me permission not to obsess about things that I'm not doing, that I feel like I should be doing because everybody's telling me I need to be doing all things at all times.
Yeah.
And I say, you don't need to. In fact, the most successful folks are the ones that go all in on one thing.
That's right. Intentional, focused, and
they just go deep. They go so darn deep that they're known for that. And it's now they're the person that people think of when they go, you know what? Who does listing videos better than anybody else? It's this person. They do it better than anybody else. Who knows that high net worth luxury space better than anybody else? Who knows that mid-century, modern space better than anybody else? It's this person over here. Yep. They've just gone all in on that. And now they're the go-to. People are fighting to work with them. And I've done the same thing to build my brand, to build my authority in the really kind of the marketing technology space. But it's really the human behavior space. It's understanding how people operate, how to get them to make decisions, why they make the decisions they do. But that's when, when I think about developing my brand, my authority, I want to be as valuable to the market as possible. And I feel like you get compensated based on your level of value you bring to the market. The more value you bring, the more your value becomes.
Yes. You've always been of a contribution mindset from always. You've always been very mindful, purposeful, forward-thinking about making contribution to whoever's in front of you and conscientious about it, right? A lot of people don't necessarily operate that way. For the time that I've known you, you've always come from a question of, what's the best way to deliver value? Which is your way of providing high level contribution, and we need more of that for sure. You've done such a great job in our market, and I know you have a national presence as well. We shouldn't short side some of the other things, but on the resume from your Inman contribution, I know that you do a lot of writing for some of the industry portals, so to speak. But your trainings. You've done a fantastic job with your speaking. So
thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly trying to sharpen the sword, because I know I have to in order to keep up. Yeah. But not just keep up, but stay ahead.
exceed,
When people come to me, I want to be able to tell them, share with them something that they didn't know.
Yeah, that's
You know what I
cool.
mean? So I pride
here's what's
myself on
coming
that.
down the road.
Yeah, here's what's
Yeah.
coming. Here's what I see. Here's what you may consider doing. So bringing that new angle, that new edge,
Yeah.
you know, and it does require a lot of effort. You know, I try to take care of myself. I try to get good sleep. I try to eat well. I mean, if I'm going to try to perform on a daily basis like a professional athlete, like I think we all should,
That's right.
we have to take care of the vessel.
Totally.
So taking care of the vessel, taking care of the mind so that we can show up and perform at a high level every day, I think that's absolutely crucial. You know, I feel fortunate to get to do what I do and work with amazing people in a constantly evolving and growing industry.
Love it.
And I can see how it can easily be overwhelming. And you guys, it's easy for me to go, wow, there is just so much. What path, what lane do I pick today?
Right.
You know, and so, so you know, that's, I think for me, that's the enjoyment. You know, I'm a middle child. I love the adversity. I've kind of, you know, I had two older brothers that were, you know, phenomenal athletes, and they're great individuals. And I was kind of, you know, underneath them. And I remember I was the underdog, if you will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I've got a little bit of that underdog mentality where I've got
Same.
a lot to prove.
Middle child too.
You know what I mean?
too.
Yeah. And so, you know, that probably provides some conviction and drive for me.
Yeah.
But again, also becoming irrelevant really I'm obsessed with just making sure that I never become complacent or irrelevant. I think that's a huge driver too. You know, and I know that if I continue to level up my value, I'm never going to have to worry financially because the market will provide in abundance, you know, based
That's awesome.
on the value that I'm bringing to the table. So
Yeah.
I just, you know, again, fortunate to be in this position aligned with, you know, Fidelity National Financial, you know, to really get to work with incredible folks in multiple parts of the country. And, you know, and again, I'm available to connect,
I love
you know,
it.
and I look forward to it.
Yeah. We're so happy you're here. What would be like, I love the stop shooting all over yourself. But like, what is one snappy piece of advice for our agents?
Snappy piece of advice. Okay, so, gosh, you know,
There's so many things you
lots
could
of lots of
share.
little.
You said a huge one earlier, and that was
lots of-
consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of nuggets here too. I think you know, writing, just taking a moment and writing down, you know, one of two things. At the end of 2026, what do I want to accomplish? I would say usually it's just GCI. How much
Right.
money do I want to make at the end of 2026? Or who do I want to be at the end of 2026? In other words, like what do I want to be known for? Do I want to be known as the Awatuki specialist? Do I want to be known as the high net worth specialist? And then backing into that. And I think I'd start with ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT how it would back into that.
Yeah. I
You
think
know what I
that's
mean?
awesome.
And
It's
yeah.
like you just gave a snappy piece of advice that incorporated the mindset piece and technology.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's what I do.
There you go. That's the magic of that. That's what he does. I love what you just said because this week in our sales meeting, we just did a blueprint where one of the questions was, what do I want to be known for? Was one of the questions. So that's so cool that you just mentioned that too. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you asking me one time, you know, we go way back.
We go way back.
And you asked me one time, we were actually at a conference, I want to say in Vegas, and you
Yeah.
say, Aaron, like, what do you want to be known for? Like, who do you want to be? What do you want to,
Yeah.
what do you want to accomplish? And I remember sitting there at this table,
And you're like,
thinking,
no one ever asks me questions
I'm
like that.
I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. And I've never asked myself that. It's always head down in autopilot. I'm just going to go, accomplish, absorb. And I go, you know what? Just stopping, being intentional for a moment. Man, I'm surprised that I have no idea. And at the time, I had no idea.
Yeah,
you
you
know?
were just an achiever.
Yeah, just, and there's a lot of us in this
Yeah,
industry, in real estate.
absolutely.
We're achievers. We're
Yeah.
just going to go and
Let's
we're going to
keep
achieve
achieving.
and
Yeah.
we're going to bounce off a wall and we're going to go in a different direction. And,
Yep.
and we go, but ultimately, like, where am I headed? And
Yeah.
who do I want to become? And it's a great question. It's a hard question
It really
to
is.
answer sometimes.
Yeah, it requires some thinking time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, in closing, amazing. We're
Yeah.
so excited about being able to partner with you and have you part of our umbrella and just let's kick some ass.
Yeah, get you. We're going to get you
Always.
out there in a lot of different situations we're excited about.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, very excited about Aaron Lacey, growth architect, joining Fidelity National Financial,
Yes.
part of our team. And thank you guys so much for listening in because this is a really powerful episode of
Well,
Entitled.
hold on. Let me add one more thing because
Okay.
we always say, how does someone get in touch with you? You get in touch with me and Bernie, and then we set it up with Aaron. So we look forward to
Yeah.
those connections.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Likewise. Bye-bye.